Good.
Perfect.
Maybe there's a way that I can share this without covering over everything. Yeah. And I can make it a little bigger.
Slideshow?
Too big. Too big.
Adam, can you use the slideshow feature?
You mean I can just get rid of this side thing? Is that what you mean? Get rid of the sidebar?
Right.
Right.
Or up at the top it says slideshow, and then I think that way it only displays it, and then as you click, then you click to move forward. Right there. No, that's slideshow. There.
I see.
And then just say from the beginning.
Okay. But then I lose. So then I'm not able to see anything in the chat window or anything if I do this way.
Oh, okay. Then do as you need.
Okay.
So do you not have the chat window on the left then? So now I see two chat windows. And on the left,
I see. Uh-huh. Well, Pam, what about if you ride the chat window and I just don't look at it?
Okay.
Good. Well, I think we should start. So, this is Adam Slide Routine. I'm the person in charge of program planning for the chapter.
Adam, I'm getting a double message. You're reverberating.
Huh. I wonder what we can do about that. I have an idea. Six. Are you getting it? Wait, let's see.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know, but I can.
Does it happen when I'm talking as well? Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
Do you hear a double when I'm talking too?
I don't know, kind of. It's not great.
So, Adam, what would happen if you mute everybody except Julie?
Okay. Can you hear me now? Let's see, I'm not hearing. I think I've got Julie muted too. Let me see. Which one? Julie, which phone number are you calling from?
I'm 925-334-0954.
I don't even see that. Oh, I see it.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
925. Okay. Okay. Julie, can you speak?
I can speak. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, and everyone else is muted, and this is trying to reduce the feedback problem we were getting.
Okay.
So,
So Evelyn was saying that there was still reverb. So Evelyn and others, is there still reverberation going on from your end?
you need to put that in the chat window because we can't hear you. No, Evelyn says it's okay.
Okay, cool.
Good. All right. Thank you for your patience, everyone. So I wanted to introduce Julie Wright, who is the president of the Bay Area chapter and has been as a past president of the Sacramento, California chapter. And I asked her to present to us today for part of this meeting about planning and producing programs because she's been a co-chair of the program planning committee for a long time and has a lot of experience in it. So I would like to have Julie present for a while, and I think maybe we'll do that without questions for a little bit, and then we'll try unmuting and seeing if we can do questions without getting into a lot of sound problems. The other thing is if you have a question, you could write it into the chat window if you have a question that won't wait. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay, thanks, Adam. And I have been involved with program planning for quite a long time, and I'm just sharing this as one way in which to approach it. Can't say it's by any means the only way, and I am very interested in finding ways that you all are using to better integrate member participation. We tend to be speaker heavy, where we bring in people to speak, and sometimes people feel they're talked at a lot of times. So we're looking in that direction as well. But I'm happy to share with you what we have, our typical approach, and then also have shared a number of documents. If you find them helpful, fine. If not, toss them or not. Don't even go in and look at them. But before I go to the next slide, I'll just offer that one of the reasons that I got involved with programs many years back was I was a new member, and I felt that it was a way to better become engaged with the chapter activities, and also a way to get to know who are the movers and shakers in the type community and really learn more about what is going on in type. So that being said, I will share with you a little background about the Bay Area Association for Psychological Type. We are approximately 100 members. Our dues, people pay dues, and then as members, you don't have to pay additionally for the programs. So we do have a little higher amount, and of that 125, 15 goes for an affiliate fee if they're not APTI members. We have also, within the past year or so, implemented a policy where members can bring one or more guests, invited guests, one time for free. Our thinking there is it allows people to experience what we do, and then hopefully we follow up with them, and hopefully they will attend again, and more importantly, that they may join. So we find a way to help people attend as they can. We do typically once a year have a fundraising event to raise money towards the general fund and to a scholarship fund, and for that everybody pays, but non-members pay a little higher fee than do the members. But that's kind of who we are. We have approximately 50 people each time. We meet the second Saturday of the month from May through September. Well, vice versa, September through May. And I forgot where I was going with that. But, we typically have about 50, sometimes as much as 70 members attend at any one time. So that's who we are. So, Adam, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yes, I did. It'll just take a second for it to reflect.
Okay. As I mentioned, we do have 9 programs. We do plan a year in advance. We are in the process of planning now for next year, and we have a committee of about 5 people. The program chair, as you see, is a board position, and we work closely with marketing and with membership and with the treasurer. It's very much a collaborative thing. We have found that programs very often drive membership. People would come based upon what they are going to be seeing. And so we always want to keep that in mind. We also want to keep it as economical as we can. And we have, for the past 2 years, been experimenting or piloting with having webinars. Our thought there was that it may, in fact, offer a venue for people who can't make it on Saturdays, for whom Saturday mornings are not a convenient time. We have not found that we've had a lot of new people coming to those. They tend to be existing members. They haven't been as highly attended as we had hoped that they might be, but then again, we haven't found that we have marketed them as strongly as we might. So it's kind of a chicken and an egg. We are going to continue this next year and try some stronger marketing and such, and see if it is in fact still something that adds that does add value. We, as I say, our timeline in December, January, we ask for volunteers who are interested to serve on the programs committee, and then kind of screen to make sure that they are people that are going to be able to commit to what is needed as we do go through it, because it is pretty intensive for the first couple to 3 months of getting that. We are in the process right now of tying up into our brainstorming the topics and speakers. We try to get input from our members. We use evaluations. One of the documents that made available to you is the evaluation form that we put, we ask people to complete at the end of each of our programs so that we're able to get feedback as to how they like that particular speaker, but it also by way particularly of any verbatim comments that they offer, that we can get a feeling for what resonates for people. We do find that we're not going to please everybody, and we have quite a diverse crowd. We have from beginners to advanced. We have about a 50-50 mix of those who use it for their professional, as well as those who use it just for personal growth. So we try to do a variety of things, as we'll talk about in a moment.
Julie, just
yeah.
1 second. I'm getting a comment that your voice keeps cutting off. If that's at least what one person has said on the chat. Pam, you're not muted. Are you hearing well from Julie?
I'm hearing her well, so I'm not getting the cutting off.
I'm not getting it either, Kim. It may be an issue on your phone for some reason. If anyone else has a problem hearing Julie, put it into the chat window, please. Oh, and Kim is saying my voice is also cutting off for her. But I'm not seeing those comments from others.
Okay.
Go ahead, Julie.
All righty. One of the things that we'll be getting to next in our planning, and this is kind of important, is that we then send out to those that we make a final list of about 18 potentials, and then we will reach out to them asking, are you interested and when are you available? And we make it really clear that it's not an invitation at that point. We're just needing to find out who, in fact, is available, a bit more about what they might speak on and which months that they are available, so then we can establish our calendar and then actually, based upon all of the different factors, that we can then issue formal invitations in April. And some of our members are a little uncomfortable with that approach, and that they feel like they aren't able to be comfortable about telling somebody, I'm sorry, we haven't selected you, so they just choose not to be in that particular portion of it. And then the rest of us, it's like with anything else, we just say, it's great, we'll keep you on the list for another time. Sorry, we just didn't have the space for your presentation in this particular time. We do not only have to, but want to get the board approval for ours, and then the whole objective is that we can then announce our next year's calendar at our last program in May, and that we find that some people make their decisions on whether or not to join the next year on the basis of what we're going to be offering. So we try to have it available at the very least. If we don't have all of the promotional information, we're at least able to give the names and the topics so that people have a feel for what they're doing. And then we do continue to get our promotional information so that we can start marketing our year in the summer prior to the onset. So that's the timeline. I'll stop here and just see if anybody has questions about our timeline.
Julie, one question that came up on the chat box was from Evelyn Lemoine, who asked if you could say a little bit about the fundraisers.
Yeah, the fundraisers, oftentimes we will have them an all day instead of just the morning. We typically look for somebody that's going to be a big draw, and particularly we look at somebody that may be a draw to even some new beginners or some audiences that we might not have ordinarily, that might not. This year our fundraiser was with Roger Pierman talking about emotional intelligence. It was a topic that we had never had at that before, and felt that it also could be something that would be of interest to people who haven't been attending. Last year, it seems to me it was John Beebe, I'm thinking. Oh, no. It was Pat Wyman with the Enneagram and type. And the thing that is different about this, too, is that there is a charge for members, or as I mentioned, otherwise, all of the programs are free for members. But again, as you might expect, that if we are asking members to pay in addition, then we look at topics that are going to be a little maybe above and beyond what they would ordinarily be getting on another time. Does that help?
Julie, I think people may be interested to know also that the fundraisers, and again, we're charging members, I forget, $25, $35, and non-members $60. They don't actually make a profit. It's just that they contribute more revenue than an ordinary monthly presentation.
Right. And I saw a question from Daphne. I think that our next slide of the criteria is going to help address some of those questions. But if there's anything about timeline that people have before we look more into what our program criteria.
There's another financial question, Julie. Daphne Walker asks, what fees do the speakers charge, and how can we recover our costs at BAPT if it's free for members?
Right, and that the first part of that question, Daphne, is here. We do not pay any speaker fees. We pay for their travel expenses. We pay for their lodging. We pay for, of course, any materials and handouts. But we have been very successful in getting excellent speakers without paying a fee per se. It does give them an opportunity to expose themselves, but that's not the right way to say it. It does give them exposure to audiences they might not otherwise. We always encourage them, if they have books that they want to sell, we help them sell those. And we have just found, and then we have found that oftentimes our speakers have friends here in the San Francisco area, so sometimes they're able to double up a little bit. We pay their airfare, so sometimes they're able to meet up with friends or make a little mini vacation. We do provide one-night lodging if they're west of the Rockies and out of the local area. Oftentimes we have speakers come up from Southern Cal or from up north. If they are coming east of the Rockies, we do provide lodging 2 nights, the Friday night before and the Saturday night, knowing that it's not possible for them to get airfare back home after a program. So we do provide 2. If someone wishes to stay longer, then they're on their dime thereafter. But we have found that sometimes people, again, like to come this way and make a little vacation, even if they're not. We have not had. There are some people that do charge fees, and we just don't include those in our selection typically. We've made exceptions if we think it's a really, 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 really strong draw, but we have been very successful in not having to pay any speaker honorariums per se. As
Julie,
we are looking, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say the part of the question about what members pay and how that makes it possible to recover the cost.
We actually, again, our goal is to have like 110 members. So we look at having a member size and the member fee such that we're able to accommodate that. And so we do need to keep down. We do get a mixture, it says here, in terms of having variety. We look to have local people as well, whether they're members or other type experts in the local area, that it's just a short drive to our meeting time, so it doesn't involve any type of lodging. It's just a matter of mileage. We also look at having people from Southern Cal, so that, again, it's usually a cheaper airfare and it's only 1 night lodging. So we recover costs in the fact that our overall general fund subsidizes the programs. We don't look at the programs with any guest fees and such are going to cover. They do subsidize, but we do need to keep to a budget, and that's where we work closely with our treasurer to say, here's the amount that we should stay within. And then as we are planning, we will need to look to see how do we make our mixture of speakers fit within that budgeted amount. Does that help? Cool. Go ahead.
There's another question from Charles. How many of our chapter members are APTI members, and do they complain about the cost for both? So I would say out of our 100 members in BAPT, maybe 15 are APTI members, and they don't. I haven't had complaints about the cost for both. And then Jane is asking, where do the meetings take place?
Yes, we do meet in Millbrae, which is about halfway. It's near the San Francisco airport, but it's about halfway between San Francisco and San Jose, and it's about an hour away from our East Bay members as well. We are in a meeting room that's associated with the Millbrae Library, and there is a rental charge for it, and we do meet there. It accommodates our meeting size at this point. It has free parking. It's easy to get to off of the highway. So that's where we're meeting at this point in time. We have met other places, and we, for many years, met at the Hilton in Foster City, just at the base of the San Mateo Bridge. but it was getting to be too expensive. It was a per-person charge for their catering. It was turnkey, which was wonderful, but it got to be too expensive, so we sought other places. So that's where we are at this time. And it does have a charge both for the morning and then an additional charge if we continue into the afternoon. So those are all factors that we have to keep in mind as we are looking to whether or not we have afternoon workshops, and again, making sure that our travel expenses aren't too much so that we can accommodate all of that. We're always looking at things as we are the type community. We are looking at things that are going to help us in learning about and even more importantly, applying type concepts and related models. We don't just specialize in MBTI. We go into other models as well. We've done a lot with temperament, with Linda Barron's approaches, again, as we brought in emotional intelligence, Spiro-B, a variety, and we continue. This is one, we surveyed our members just recently, and this is one that's of interest to people, are other tools and applications as well. One of the biggest things for us is that a team member must have seen the speaker present, or they come highly recommended from somebody who trusts the judgment of somebody who said they did see them present. Just because somebody looks good on paper, we have had experiences, particularly if we're going to be flying them in from the East Coast. We don't want to risk that they aren't, in fact, providing a good program, and so that is something that we do hold to. We also need to make sure that it can be successfully completed in 2.25 hours, which is the amount of time. We meet for 3 hours, but by the time you figure a break and announcements, the speaker has about 2.25 hours worth. And we do have problems, and we've got to get even a little better about working with our speakers. We do have problems with people wanting to fit their 4-hour or 2-day workshop into 2.25 hours, and it just doesn't work. So that's always something that we continue to be wrestling with and working with our speakers. We want a variety of topics. We try to get a variety of speaker type preferences as well. We do find, as you probably have found, we have a lot of speakers who tend to have the NF preferences, as does a large majority of our members. But we are always looking for those with sensing in particular preferences. We want to meet various knowledge levels. We have come more and more to realize one size is not going to fit all, and we are going to alienate some. We're going to alienate some beginners if we get advanced. We're going to alienate some advanced if we're too beginner. We've decided, based upon feedback from our survey this year, it's going to be better about announcing and marketing what level it's probably most applicable for, so people can choose. If we say, really is geared towards an advanced crowd, if a beginner decides, maybe that's not for me, as opposed to getting there and being disappointed, and vice versa. We have, as I mentioned earlier, kind of a strong reliance on speaker. What was it? Sage on the stage, was that the term that was used lately? So we're really wanting to get back more into having more panel discussions, more experiential, and involving our members. So we're looking at that more, and I'm very open to what others of you have been doing to be able to make that happen. And again, we do have a variety of the local and non-local. So those are some of the main, again, variety, and keeping it within our budget. So I'll stop and ask if there's any questions about the planning criteria.
Julie, I think you've covered the planning criteria very well, but I think people would be interested in some of the production aspects, and particularly your system of using what you're calling MCs and what actually being an MC involves, because I think that's something that might be useful to other chapters. Could you explain about the MC?
Yeah, I can. Each speaker, we have a liaison and an MC. The MC is and one and the same, actually. They serve two purposes. At the meeting, they're actually the facilitator. They are the person who opens the meeting, who keeps us on time, who announces the break. and just is the meeting facilitator. Prior to that, they are also the liaison, so that if we do have out-of-town guests, we always want to make sure that we're either the MC themselves or the MC has made arrangements with someone else to greet the person at the airport as they're coming in, to help them in, they'll either make recommendations for lodging or make the lodging reservations themselves. They are the point person. We like to make sure that we have one point person for the speaker. They will be the ones to make sure that we have, if there's any follow-up for the promotional information, because the programs committee takes the responsibility to obtain the promotional information, and there is a document that I've shared that we use. But if there are any questions, we do ask them to serve as the liaison to look at the final flyer and stuff like that. If there's any other kinds of questions, they're the main funnel to the speaker. People on the programs committee get first right of refusal. They get to choose if they wish to be an MC and which speaker, and then we look to other members to fill in, and it can be a great way to get some of the newer members or other members who may not be engaged in other ways. It can be a great way to get them engaged in being active with the chapter, and then it has led to their becoming more active in other committees and on the board and things like that. So did that help, Adam?
Yeah, I think just the idea that you have one volunteer for each presentation who is not only a facilitator and an MC in the moment and introduces the presenter, but is actually in touch with that person before they arrive, about their transportation and lodging, and about getting their expenses reimbursed after they leave. Having that one point person who is not necessarily a member of the program committee, but is just a volunteer in that one role for that one presenter, I think is a very useful way to spread around the workload.
Mm-hmm. It is, and a great way for people to get engaged on a fairly small basis to start. Yeah.
Now, I would like to unmute everybody, but I'm going to ask that you mute yourselves manually with your phone if you can, so that we don't have noise. But I'm going to unmute everyone so that we can have some discussion and questions. And I want to particularly ask Deborah Logan. Now I'm getting some feedback. Please mute yourself. I wanted to invite Deborah Logan to speak, who is in charge of program planning in Chicago. You there, Deborah?
Adam, Deborah, the question was.
Yeah, I'm still getting a lot of sound. Deborah,
Okay.
What phone number are you calling in from?
Hold on 1 second. 646-583-7415.
I can't see. Say that phone number again.
646-583-7415.
For some reason, that is not showing up. Because I was going to mute everybody but two, but I can't find that phone number.
I'm calling. There's another person on that called in from that number too.
No, I mean, what phone number? What I mean is, Deborah, what I mean is, what is your own phone number that you're? Because I need to.
I'm sorry.
Adam, you can call and the web and you can mute her from the, or unmute her from the web.
I've had to mute everyone because the sound is so bad. Deborah, if you could perhaps write into the chat window what phone number you're calling from, I can unmute that phone number, and then you can speak. Oh, okay, 847-363. Got it. Hold on one sec. Deborah, you're now unmuted. Can you say something?
Well, I'm here, and I thought you asked a question. I'm sorry if you didn't.
Yeah, no, I just wondered, what reactions have you had listening to Julie's presentation, and what you would like to share about your work in Chicago with planning and producing programs.
Well, actually, it's fairly similar to what Julie in San Francisco are doing. I went through the documents that you shared, and we're not quite as formalized, but we do a pretty similar thing with speakers. We don't have a rule against paying, but we haven't had to pay. We do pay for expenses. We usually give them an honorarium of maybe up to $300. So that is really pretty similar. What we have found, I've been doing the programming for several years, and I've been a member of the chapter since the year 2000. And here's what we found. We have programs about every 6 weeks, so we generally have 8 or 9 a year. We now go throughout the year. We didn't used to meet during the summer, but we do now. And what I noticed was that the thing we have the most success with, whether it's a speaker or anything else, is when there's general discussion. We have, as I'm sure you do in San Francisco and probably all the other chapters, we have people that know a lot about type and are fairly sophisticated, and everything just goes better when there's when they have an opportunity to participate. So what we are all booked through 2014, and I'm starting to work on 2015. And what we've been doing for the last few years and has been pretty successful, we have a series, and that attracted a lot of people. So this year we're doing what we're doing is a study group based on a book that we are all reading about the cognitive processes. And that is probably the best meeting we've ever had, no matter how good the speaker is. Everybody participated, everybody liked it, and of course we're going to have 3 more of those this year. So we'll continue with another probably book series next year. Then next year we're going to have 4 meetings dedicated to complementary instruments. And people are pretty excited about that. We get lots of requests. I think Julie mentioned something about other instruments as well. So we're going to bring people in to talk about instruments. One thing that's true for our chapter is we have a lot of people who, especially since 2008 when the economy fell out, people ask for things that they can use in their businesses or at work, much more than they want something kind of recreational. We're going to do a movie this year because we had an opening and somebody canceled. But we stopped doing that once the economy fell out because what we noticed is people didn't come to meetings when we did that stuff. So it's been application-oriented for the last couple of years, and people seem to like that. So that would be just a little bit different than it sounds like you're doing in San Francisco, but the logistics of how you guys are going about it, very similar to what we're doing. That's it.
Thank you. Julie, we have a question for you about the board. How many board members we have and how their terms are staggered or not?
Yes, and help me out. I'm thinking we have around 10, and yes, they are staggered to the degree that we can make them staggered. We've had quite a challenge to be getting board members, so at times, and but the concept is, yes, We have around 10, and that they are on 2-year terms and staggered. We also, in some of them, we look to have co-directors, either that they are working together at the same time or that we're bringing in co-directors so that one is kind of the student driver the first year and then takes over the next year. And that has been true in our attempts with program committee operations. Some of them that involve a little bit more logistics, that we have somebody in the ready. Yeah.
Great. Well, I would encourage people to look, if you're involved in program planning for your chapter, I would encourage you to look at the documents that Julie shared, because they do give you a kind of a blueprint, if you don't have a system already, for how to approach a potential speaker, for all the steps in planning the engagement with that speaker and making sure that they're properly taken care of, and everything from that to the evaluation process after the presentation. So please have a look at those documents. I'm sorry, it doesn't seem to be able. You don't seem to be able to unmute everybody and have a conversation in that way. So if you have a question, please do type it into the chat window, and we'll for sure answer it. That just seems to be our only choice at the moment.
Adam, I do have a question for Deborah. How many members typically participate in your sessions?
We just had Dario Nardi here on Friday, and we had 30 people, which is about usually as many as we get anymore. We have between 20 and 30 when we bring a speaker in. And then on the smaller evening meetings that we have the rest of the year, we have probably between 15 and 20. I think we had 20 at the book group. So right around there.
Thanks. And so it sounds like you've got a different, they're on different dates. Sometimes it's during the week, sometimes it's not. Or share with me, if you would, a little bit more about where you hold and when.
Okay, our general formula is twice a year we have what we might want to call a big name speaker that we usually have to, bring in because they're not in Chicago. We do that on a Friday during the day. We meet usually for 6 hours, and we meet in a hotel near the airport, near O'Hare Airport. One thing that we decided a couple of years ago, Chicago, just like almost every major city, it's spread out all over the place. There's no way to please everybody with location, day, and time. So we stopped trying to do that a while ago. We always meet by the airport. We always meet in the same places so people know where we are. Always on a Friday, always the same hours for speakers. The evening meetings, which would be the rest of the meetings that we have, are also near the airport. It's at a different location it's in a university, but in an office building. It's a 2-hour meeting, and it's always on a Wednesday. It's not the same Wednesday of the month because we meet every 6 weeks, but it is always on a Wednesday evening. And we post all of our schedule. Like I'm about to post the one for 2014, so people can go and look. Julie mentioned that people like to plan ahead. I'm a person who likes to plan ahead, so we post it as far in advance as possible. And we also print up a schedule on a rack card that we start giving out in September for the following year. Did that answer the question?
Thanks.
Yes. One thing I would like to bring up is that, Deborah, you said that you find that speakers who are doing something that's really practical about the application of type, and I guess for type practitioners, is what works best for your audience. And it sounds like in Chicago that the majority of your members are actually type practitioners. Is that true, Deborah?
Yeah. I would say, like, a lot of them have small private practices. Some of them, a percentage of them use it at work. Some people just for pleasure, but mostly people use it in one way or another. Yeah. So
and what percentage of the members would you say are MBTI qualified in Chicago?
Of the people, the core people that come to meetings on a regular basis, I would say 95% of them are qualified. Of the larger group, I would say probably 75%. That's a guess, but that's my guess.
Now, Julie, what would you say about Sacramento and San Francisco as far as, whether the members are mostly qualified, whether they mostly use type in their work, or whether there's a different kind of audience?
In terms of qualified, I don't know what I can say based upon how people respond on the evaluations. We're almost a 50-50 between those who consider that they use it for professional and those who use it just for personal. We have quite a large contingent of folks that do not use it, at least now. They maybe haven't ever, and then others who have perhaps used type in their work, but they aren't now, and they still continue to join. So we do still have quite a large contingent of those who don't use type at work at all.
Right. That's what I would think that in the Bay Area chapter, the percentage that are MBTI qualified is I would think well below half. And so that is it's a different situation, and it does make me wonder, since the Bay Area chapter has 100 members, which is the biggest chapter, whether one reason that it's bigger is because it makes space for people who don't do it professionally. But I imagine that perhaps it doesn't serve as quite as well the people who are mainly interested in using it professionally. In other words, it's a trade-off, I guess, between serving a more diverse audience and getting a bigger audience that way versus really serving the professionals well.
Right.
We have a few more minutes. I wonder if anyone else has questions to type into the chat window. And Pam, I've unmuted you. I wondered if you had any thoughts.
Well, Julie, I've actually got a question about I received to remember that at some point you actually ran parallel programs where in an afternoon or something you'd have a beginner program and then an advanced program. Are you still doing that? And how is that work?
We are not at this point because of where we are meeting. But you're right. In past times when we were able to accommodate two different programs, we would have one specifically towards intro and then one that was geared towards a more intermediate or advanced, so that we could accommodate both interests in that one. But it did require a site that we could have two distinctly different groups, and where we're meeting now does not allow that.
Right, okay. Well, and I'd be curious for anyone else who's listening, how has this commentary impacted you? So what are you thinking about when you hear all this? I know from a Portland perspective, what I'm thinking about is, wow, starting the planning in January, we're just working through our programs for this year and finalizing how we're going to produce those. So we haven't started to think about next year yet. And so it's like, wow, we're a little behind the curve, although we're going to use the conference as a way of really identifying some potential speakers. So this year we might be doing our planning a little bit later, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think using the conference as a way to audition speakers makes a lot of sense. But of course, you could still be doing that for the year after, so that's not necessarily a reason, to delay the timeline.
Exactly. So there's one other thing that, if no one else has other questions or comments, I'm now on the board of APTI, and at the board meeting last month, we began to talk about segmenting the marketplaces, who comes to APTI, who are members, and I think these segments may apply to us as chapters, and I'm thinking about it as I'm hearing from Deborah and Julie about their programs and how do you I loved Deborah's comment that said we've just accepted that we're not going to please everybody. It's like, well, that's probably a good thing to just accept. But what was discovered from the folks who were beginning to look at this market segmenting for APTI is that there were 8 different kinds of interest and passion, 8 degrees of passion, 8 different needs. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this, but what I'm wanting you most to hear is that this presentation and these ideas will be available for you to use. I'll put the document into the Google Docs, or if anybody can't get into that, just let me know. But there's a type practitioner who really loves type, often makes money with it, often lead with type in their work, and what they need and want is to deepen their skills, how to succeed in networking and connections. Someone else may use it in their workplace, so they love type, but their business is not type. They might be an IT manager, an advertising exec, and they're finding ways to apply it, and they're inspired by how type makes a difference. So what they need is how to apply type in their work or life. Then you've got a type theorist who loves type theory, and they, buy books, they read online, they might be in the INTJ or INTP online forum, and what they want is to deepen their understanding and increase exposure to experts. And then the professional who's interested in type's part of their job. They might be in HR or leadership coaching, and what they want is a proper application and ease of accurate use. And then you've got someone who's personally interested, and they're interested in type, their own personal development and use, and what they want is how to apply it to life. And then you've got a new person who's intrigued by type, may have minimal exposure, may have something specific they're looking for, and they need and want kind of a gentle introduction. Then you might have a skeptic of type who's had an early negative experience, not sure about the value, and what they want is credible information to see what works. And then some who are dismissive of type. They don't believe in the validity. They've had multiple negative experiences, and what they want is validation, hard research, and numbers. And so the last 2 segments, clearly, they may not be the folks that we necessarily want to attract, but they may come to us because they have particular needs. And this may be more true for APTI than it would be for us as chapters. But I think about our programs and the things we've just talked about today, that getting clear about, I love, Julie, your comment about saying we're really looking for a wide variety of, and some targeting of the programs to these different interests, that may be useful in the different chapters.
This is Deborah. This is a little different take on what you just said, but what I have found is the people most likely to come to these kinds of meetings, or at least our chapter meetings, that aren't part of the group on a regular basis, are people that need continuing education units. So the counselors have a need for annual NVCCs, and I guess it's the psychologists need APAs. We are by far the least expensive way to get those continuing education units, anything I've seen, and it's the biggest draw people outside of the usual type practitioner group. And so, and I also think it's the biggest opportunity for expansion of membership. So I don't know where that fits into the groups that you just said, but I think it's a significant thing to keep in mind with programming. So
I think that's fabulous, and I think that's one that I would add to it, because marketing that you've got, taking the time to get the CEU approval and then giving those out, and we charge people an extra $10 to get CEUs. But thank you for that. So I'm aware of our time, and I want to thank Adam for his leadership in this. As you may have noticed in the emails that you've gotten sent, we actually have planned out the chapter leader calls for the rest of the year, with the intention that you could really want to make sure to be on calls that are of special interest to you, or make sure someone in your chapter dials in for particular kinds of calls. Soon, Jane Winge is heading up the chapter leader dinner at the conference, so we're hoping that you'll all be coming to the conference, and make sure that you're planning to arrive before Wednesday dinner. And just remember that as a chapter leader, you would get a reduced rate for any of the pre-conference workshops. So I don't remember what the dollar amount is, but it was a pretty significant reduction. And then dinner on Wednesday night would be free for 2 members of each chapter, and if you've got more than 2 people who want to come, whatever the cost is for the dinner, you just have to pay that for the extra folks. So, and we will be using this Fuse webinar process. So today was kind of a learning for us. And again, Adam, thanks for being courageous and leading us through this. Tony Doucette is taking a well-deserved vacation, and so he was not available to us today. So Adam courageously said, yep, he'll do it. And we did get a little bit of training, but it's always hard, I think, the first time. So any other final comments? We've got 2 more minutes from anyone. Comments or questions? And Julie, thank you so much for your presentation, and thanks, Deborah, for coming prepared to share your information. I thought it was just great from both of you.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Anything else from anyone? Adam, anything else to add?
No, just to say to people that we're aware that there's been audio issues with this session, and we will work on it, and please be patient with us. It's not always easy to figure out how to fix these things away.
Mm-hmm. But thanks for that. And I think that's it then for the day. Thanks all for participating, and we'll make sure that to have the documents and then the recording available for you and for you to share in your chapter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.